It's true that all the men you knew were dealers who said they were through with dealing every time you gave them shelter.
Hello, welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride until I can't no more.
And I'm Gary. And today we're going to review and discuss McCabe and Mrs. Miller, which came out in 1971 from director Robert Altman. Ian, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows Warren Beatty's character, John McCabe, who has settled down in a small mining town Presbyterian church. He decides he wants to set up his own whorehouse there. But along the way, he picks up a partner in Miss Miller, played by Christie, and also attracts the attention of a local company.
Never get your ass off your shoulder. We'll have a little fun around here. You boys got to make up your mind if you want to get your cookies, because if you want to get your cookies, I got girls up here and do more tricks than a goddamn monkey on 100 yards of grapevine.
Now, you may have noticed just from some of the film clips there that this film's kind of got an old-time kind of look to it.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, granted the film came out in 1971.
Yeah.
But they did something to the film negative before they even recorded the film.
Really?
And that was that they kind of pre-flashed the negative. And so by pre-flashing it, it kind of gave the whole film that kind of tinted, antique, old-time look to the film. And Altman did this specifically because he was aware that the film studio would be like, this doesn't look like Western. You know, it doesn't have the same look to it. And Altman altered the negative so that there was nothing the studio could do about it.
Wow.
And that was because Altman, you know, he went and said that he wanted to make a kind of an anti-Western. He didn't want to create the norm. And so by pre-flashing the negative, the film has this kind of distinctive look to it, which you just don't usually see.
Well, I just put that down to the fact it was old.
Right, yeah.
You know, the film.
But that was what he wanted to do.
Well, that's it.
To give it an authentic look.
I looked at this film and I'm like, this is on DVD. This is like, looks like I've just pulled a VHS off my shelf.
Exactly.
You know, slapped it in because it's just got this tinge to it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It feels like it's from, you know, the early 20th century.
Especially when you put that along with the music. You know, you're watching this figure just kind of, you know, riding up. I wouldn't even call it a town.
No, well, it's the beginnings of.
The beginnings of a town. But this wanderer is, you know, he's heading up and the weather's just obviously really, really bad. And you're like, who is that? I first thought it was a trapper. You know, I was looking at this guy and I'm like, oh yeah, he's bringing his pelts into town. You know, I'm waiting for Warren Beatty to turn up. But then when he comes into the town, he takes a look at everybody and he starts to get himself all prepared, you know, becoming a bit more respectable.
Right.
I'm like, there's our Mr. McCabe.
Yeah. Now, there's one thing about this film is that it was all shot sequentially.
Nice.
Which is, you know, it's almost a rarity in film
Yeah,
where you shoot
yeah.
every sequence in order.
Yeah.
And that's because this town throughout the film is being built. You know, you literally see the carpenters in the background building all the buildings. And so, you know, and those were the actual sets that they would use in the film.
Yeah.
But I also think it's interesting that all of the carpenters that you do see in the background building those, they're not extras. I mean, they are kind of extras, but they were actual hired carpenters that were hired to build the sets.
Nice.
That the director turned to them and said, look, go into the wardrobe, pick out your costume. You decide on what sort of character you are other than being a carpenter.
Yeah.
And you are not just building the set, but you are also an extra in the film. So you can keep building the set whilst we're shooting this scene.
Nice.
Just to add another layer of authenticity and believability to everything that's going on.
Because you watch the development of this town over time. And I love... I immediately fell in love with the cinematography in the background and just watching this town kind of weather the storm as it goes on around it. There's not really like a really nice sunny day where the birds are chirping, you know.
Well, it's like I said, it's an anti-Western, so you don't get the sweeping vistas
No.
and the cowboys versus Indians.
But you've got the mountains, you've got the trees, you know, the snow comes in at one point. They've got that awesome river that's like flowing over. That's their main source. And you see all these pathways cutting across it.
Right.
But I mean, right at the start with McCabe turning up in this town and just walking in, it's got nothing.
No.
You
It's
know,
grungy, it's decrepit almost.
yeah, and he literally just walks into the bar, run by Sheehan, played by Rene Auberjonois, who I immediately recognised as Odo.
Straight away.
Immediately,
Yeah.
it's that
It's
facial,
those eyes.
it's those eyes, and he, McCabe just kind of sits himself down at the table and starts getting out his cards.
Well, I like that scene where he goes out to his horse, doesn't he? And then he
Yeah.
comes out and he pulls out the cloth.
The cloth, and
Yeah.
kind of starts to set up his own little zone.
Everybody notices and realizes what's happening, and you see them all moving chairs in. They're like, "We want to play. We want to play."
Well, what else have they done? They've been doing nothing but mining. I've been obviously I'm massively biased at the moment with westerns or even anti-westerns, where the whole disconnect from present day. Not being able to be in touch with each other. These men, some of them don't even have families, some of them do. They could be miles away. They've come west or east or north or wherever it is to make some money, to settle down, make a life for themselves in this.
It's a mining town.
Yeah. And here comes this guy with a deck of cards and money to spend.
And a bit of class by having the cloth over the table.
Yeah, and
he sets himself up as a, as
He's
an
a businessman.
entrepreneur, a businessman.
He's a businessman
And
right off.
He strikes the deal with the bar owner straight away about how things are going to be, like how much for the bottle,
Yeah.
bottle for everybody sat at the table.
Yeah, I'm bringing the customers in. You'll get your cut when they're buying drinks. How much are your drinks? No, that's too much.
Right.
A bottle of whiskey for $3. I'm sat there like, that's nothing. But that takes a couple of days of work to make the $3 to be able to just blow it all on this bottle of whiskey that will get you absolutely pissed. So you can't work again to make any more money. It's like.
But right away you see that he's trying to set up a business, and he also has with him 3 prostitutes, and he sets up the tents just outside the bar as well.
Well, he has to go off, doesn't he, to that other town and to buy the prostitutes.
procure them, yeah.
And the guy's obviously trying to swindle him. That was something I got early on in this movie, was you had to listen to the gift of the gab.
Yes.
They were going to try and flounce each other out of the deal just a little bit, just enough for each other. But McCabe is always kind of one step ahead. He gets what he wants. He might not be exactly what he wants.
Yeah. He always seems very assured of himself.
Yeah.
And he's very well spoken.
Yeah.
And he manages to barter these 3 women from him.
Yeah, and bring them back to the town. You're watching the guys. They're. At first I thought they were still making the church, but then McCabe's just like, oh, we need to get the tent set up because we need to finish off this building because this is going to be the whorehouse. And I'm like, wow, you just punched right into the town there by going, well, this is where my whorehouse is going to be.
Right. Well, you can see all the faces of the men that they see these women turn up into their town, and they're ready to jump their bones immediately.
Yeah.
The men start fighting each other to be the first one in there.
Well, what the hell are you? Ain't you boys never seen no trumpet before, for Christ's sake?
I love the way that Sheehan obviously brings up the fact that, he knows the reputation of McCabe because he's killed some guy, Bill Roundtree, back in the day. He was known as another name. And I got the feeling that McCabe was trying to hide out here.
He may have been on the run from somewhere.
Yeah.
I didn't get that sense at all. It always felt a bit weird, like it was a rumor, like it wasn't based
but it was, in my mind it was just a rumor. It was something that this guy has just heard. So, McCabe doesn't give off that full-on thing.
It gives McCabe that level of intimidation over the other townspeople that he's not aware of, but they're like, well, McCabe's killed somebody apparently somewhere.
Well, this was it.
So revere and respect him.
I felt like McCabe had killed somebody, but not, like we said, in your traditional Western way of, walking down the street and pow! He'd had to defend himself properly, maybe in a card game somewhere or whatnot. And like you said, yeah, he might not have been running away from the law, but it might have been running away from this, from where
reputation.
This reputation. He wanted to go somewhere where people didn't know him,
right?
And then when he gets actually to the town and Sheehan mentions about him, And I like the fact they have that conversation where McCabe's just like, "You called me McCabe." You know, I didn't say my name was McCabe, and he's always trying to catch Sheehan out. And then Sheehan comes back to him, after he's got the prostitutes, and he's just like, "Look, if I get this and you get that, and I run the bar and you run the whorehouse, we can kind of pool our money together." But McCabe is interested in a deal, but not a business partner. That's it's the beauty of this movie that I was kind of making up the story for McCabe through Warren Beatty myself.
Right.
Has he been betrayed? Did he betray? How many partners has he had? Because he's not old, but he's got to be in his late 30s, almost 40s time. So he's and surviving in the Old West at least. You would have had to have been a little bit of a rattlesnake.
Well, it's not long before his real partner would arrive in town.
Yeah.
Signalled by this old steam tractor that you hear from miles away coming
Those
up.
things are beautiful. I love those.
That was a real working, authentic steam tractor from the time as well, which they would have used to haul all the logs and timber where it needed to be.
How long is it going to take you to go down there? Oh, about 6 days. Oh, okay then, Phil. See you in 6 days. Oh, okay, bye.
And on the back, you can see Mrs. Miller. And she's made her way up from, is it Bearpaw? Which was
the closest town, I think.
Which was 6 hours away, she explains.
Yeah.
And straight away, she's straight after McCabe. She's just like, I've come here to see you.
Yeah, word's got around that he's building up a whorehouse.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's a great kind of first meeting where he takes her into Sheehan's bar.
Yeah.
And takes her order, and she just levels with him straight away. She's just like, "What do you know about whorehouses?" And straight away you figure out that McCabe knows nothing. He's like, tents, women, money, men. And she's just like, "You're not going to make any money from that." She's like, "Do you know about women's needs? Do you know about hygiene? Do you know about
her
STDs?"
List.
Her
list.
And he just looks dumbstruck, like,
Yeah. What are these? No. It's just money and men and whiskey, isn't it?
And what about the customers? Who's going to skin them back and inspect them? You going to do that? Because if you don't, this town will be clapped up inside of 2 weeks if it's not already.
It was such a cool twist on his character. Complete change where you've been following, John McCabe up to this point, being the man of this town. And there haven't been many women around other than maybe the 3 prostitutes he brought along who, are just there to do whatever he says. And then Julie Christie walks in with her Miss Miller character, hits him like a fucking kick to the face.
Right.
Her delivery of all those lines, the shopping list of things. I was like, I didn't even think of any of those when it comes to these kind of things. And these are the most important things,
about the longevity of a business as well.
Yeah. What are you going to do when, they're not on their back anymore? They find religion. They always find religion. What are you going to do when the 3 days at the end of the month come up? What do you do when they don't? And McCabe's just like...
clueless, absolutely clueless.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of left no choice but to take her on board and agree to her business proposal.
Yeah, but she doesn't run away with it. She does with, like you said, with watching the town build. We're watching this building now build, and
you see them bringing in the bathtubs.
Well, yeah, they instruct them about building bathhouses, and the men are all like, "Oh, what the hell is this all about? I just want to go over there and blah, do all this." And McCabe, who's kind of spending a little bit too much time at the bottom of a bottle, kind of confronts her, and she's just like, "You need to wash yourselves. You can't just be having the men coming in and out of the pit and just going at the girls." So when Miss Miller's girls from Seattle turn up and the wagon has broken and they're all walking in the rain up the sludge and the mud, and they just look so pissed off. And I'm looking at these women and I'm just like, oh yeah, and you've got to have sex with all these men as well and get paid for it. Oh shit. You actually take comfort in the bath sequence. Watching them have this fun time together, washing themselves, because this is pure hot water now.
Right,
this is fresh water from the springs. They can get all, cleaned up and ready.
Yeah, and business is kind of booming, and Mrs. Miller explained that she wanted a a higher class of clientele, you know, and she raised the prices. You know, she almost tripled the prices of this brothel. And McCabe was just like, how are you going to make any money? No one's going to pay for that. These are minors.
Yeah, yeah.
And you see the minors come in and like they ask how much it is. You see them, you know, taken aback by the cost, but they're still like, hell, it's a classy place. We'll pay it.
Yeah.
And the money starts to come in.
Well, you see that initial look from McCabe as well when Miss Miller says, oh, yeah, I'm like, well, she's like $10, $20, something like that.
$5 a
Well,
night.
fuck $5. $5 a night. And the guy's like, yeah, okay. And she agrees to it. But McCabe kind of shoots this look like he's not happy about her, you know, working for this money.
He's smitten by her, you know, ever since that she came in and laid down the law about how this business is going to go, and you know, she kind of, you know, rough arms him into being a business partner with her.
Money and pain. All it brings is money and pain.
But he's kind of taken aback by her and respects her.
Yeah.
And so you can tell that he's not happy that she lays with other men.
That's it. There's a respect between each other. You know,
Yeah.
she respects him, he respects her. And initially you get the feeling kind of like McCabe hasn't really had that before, maybe.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, or there are some points as well later on where, you know, he's tripping himself up. He doesn't want to fall in love with her.
No, he wants to remain a kind of in control, self-assured businessman and not have those ties. But he's definitely taken by her.
Yeah.
And, you know, they do lay with each other. And,
He's got to pay though.
He has to pay. Exactly. Now, that's the thing that hangs him up, is that he wants to be able to lay with her and not pay.
Yeah.
Because he wants that kind of, that romance, I guess.
Yeah.
That you can tell that, you know, there's that shot where she's under the covers and she's looking at him.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, she really likes him as well. But, you know, their business relationship is going to come first. So he's going to have to pay, and they're going to have to go through this way. And then, he really hits the bottle quite hard throughout the rest of the film. And you see him from his place looking out over at her place.
She hits the pipe, though, as well, in a couple of times. You know, there was...
And she hides it.
Like, he'll be angry if he finds out. But I was just like... So there's no trust. There's no real love trust there. Because if you did really love him, then, you know... he'd accept that about you and maybe, you know, help you or whatever, you know. We've also been introduced to Ida Coyle, played by Shelley Duvall, in a small little part. I mean, obviously we're talking Shelley Duvall, The Shining.
Right, yeah.
Absolutely amazing actress. But this part, she literally turns up at the town and picked up by her father, I think it is.
No, it's her husband.
Her husband?
Yeah. She was like a mail order bride.
Really?
And that's kind of, you know, that's the first time meeting her husband when she gets there.
Yeah, he just kind of whisks her off. But then there's a fight, and he gets his head smacked on a rock, and he's dying. I mean, you know, this is fucking late 1800s fucking medicine. This guy is dead. And then when he does actually pass away, Miss Miller just takes Shelley Duvall under her wing. You don't really see her after that, though, again.
Yeah, you see her with the cowboy that comes into town.
Well, yeah, but I mean, we're talking, like I said, we're talking Shelley Duvall. She had these little points, but her story is just in the background.
Yeah.
There are so many background stories going on. I mean, I love the bartender and Smalley.
Yeah.
You know, talking about how they should keep their beards trimmed or tidy. Even the priest, like, we don't really know the priest's name or you know what he does, but he appears and he'll stand around like, this is wrong, looking at the whorehouse like, nah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he doesn't like guns and he doesn't like whores and he doesn't like alcohol.
Yeah, but he the film doesn't make him such a pinnacle story, does he?
No, but
he's there.
Yeah, and it's all of those background characters that bring the film to life. Like I said, this film isn't moving ahead because of the narrative or its story. It's moving ahead because of its characters.
Yeah.
It's really a character-led film. And the next part of the story is the fact that because the business of the whorehouse is doing really well, it's kind of attracted the bigger companies, the corporations of America.
Yeah.
And they want a piece of it.
Yeah, well, they want to buy up the locations that McCabe has brought up so that they can own the town like they own Bearpaw.
Right.
You have Michael Murphy, a young Michael Murphy, playing Eugene Sears, and he's one half of the business owners, and they come in and they start talking to McCabe. But McCabe, he's been hitting the bottle hard, and his relationship with Miss Miller is distracting him. So he just looks at these guys and doesn't kind of mockingly just refuses, but he's got a number in his head. He came up here with a plan, and that he doesn't want to be deterred from that plan.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I got the impression myself that he had no intention of selling.
Not for the price that they were offering.
Exactly, yeah. And so he kind of just leads them along, and he's just like, I'll come back tomorrow morning, and we'll renegotiate, and we'll see what new offer you can bring me.
Yeah, but that's because I felt then that he knew he was drunk. He wasn't really paying attention, but he did want to talk money. His figure might have been out of the way, but the fact that we realize now that this company, they don't take no for an answer.
Right.
You have that sequence where Eugene, I think, is talking to his father, I felt there was this a family bond between these two, because the other guy's just like, nope, I'm not staying around. This guy was mocking us. We're out of here. I'm not paying anything. We'll just get the boys in. And you're like, oh man,
yeah,
somebody's gonna get killed.
Yeah, I mean, McCabe ends up going back into the other town, and he speaks to a lawyer, and the lawyer's just like, look, I'll work for you. You don't have to pay me a dime. I'm looking out for the little man against the big companies.
He's another that guy. I didn't catch that guy's name.
Yeah.
But the lawyer, he's a smooth talker in most of the films that he's in. And listening to the law behind us all, the lawyer's got a point. Look, they're going to try and muscle you out. They're going to try to take you down, but we can do this in the courts. This is how we legally do it.
Yeah.
But that's not going to work. I mean, no. I like I said, I'm a bit biased with westerns at the moment, and I know that somebody could easily just shoot McCabe in the back and take his shit from him.
Yeah. Yeah. And Mrs. Miller warns McCabe of this. She's like, look, this company, like, you say yes or you disappear.
Yeah.
And that's why he, when you see the cowboy turn up on the other side of the bridge.
Yeah.
And everybody's just like, oh, shit, somebody's here to kill McCabe.
Yeah.
McCabe's like, yeah, I've got my gun. And you see him very nervously walk out there, and he's just like, well, who are you? What do you want?
Yeah.
And the cowboy's like, well, I hear you got the best damn whorehouse in the area.
I was waiting for the gun to go off. Like, this is where they're going to shoot. And it wasn't. Yeah, I want some pussy.
Right.
I want some of those whores. It's just like, well, you best go have a bath then.
Right. But following him are the three kind of, I want to say, outlaws, bounty hunters.
Yeah.
They definitely have been sent by the company.
Butler, Breed, and the Kid. That were their names that I got from Wikipedia, and I was like, those are cowboy names.
Right. And there's that sequence where they call McCabe up. McCabe, this is one of my favourite sequences in the film, because this is the first time McCabe looks nervous and he looks intimidated and frightened for his life.
Is this when he goes to the saloon to meet them?
Yes.
Well, he goes to talk to them.
To make a deal.
To make a deal, because maybe he made the mistake. But, they're not there to make a deal.
He's got the cigars and he offers them, and the guy's just like, no, you take one of my cigars. You sit down where I want you to sit. I've got my gang with me. You're going to sit there and listen to me. And McCabe's just like, well, I just want to negotiate a deal. I've kind of got this number in. And the guy's like, no. I'm not here to negotiate a deal with you. And McCabe's just like, well, I'm just going to leave then. But that is when the guy goes, now, did you kill this friend of a friend of mine?
Yeah.
And McCabe's just like, well, no, and kind of leaves.
But I love the fact in that sentence, in that conversation, is where Butler, the leader of the gang, he actually calls out McCabe and goes, I'm not here for that company. I don't work for that company. And you realise that McCabe has literally laid out his whole entire plan to this guy, and this guy's like, means nothing to me.
Right.
He's already been paid. But then when he finds out about the Bill Roundtree and watches McCabe walk out and turns to Shawnee and goes, who the fuck's Bill Roundtree?
Right.
I was like, oh, McCabe got played.
Totally played. He was just testing him. But I do like the fact that he turns, and he's just like, McCabe's never killed anyone in his life. He kind of gets that. And that was, that was the impression I got as well. That he's a little bit too soft to be a killer.
Yeah, but there's sequences coming up that tell me that
maybe he did.
This isn't his first time of shooting somebody.
He shot him with a Derringer. That man? That man never killed anybody.
I looked up Humilius, I think it was, playing Butler, the leader. He has quite an extensive acting career, but his personal life, I mean, he ate food off of Salvador Dali's wife as an art piece one time. This guy's story alone was bigger than this film. And like we said, that whole talking part with McCabe, the eyes...
Yeah.
The experience. There was just this character there that just said to me, I'm going to shoot you in the back or the front. I don't give a fuck. I've already been paid. I'm doing my job. These two guys are here. You got that quiet guy in the background, Breed, I think it is, who doesn't really say anything at all. The kid has a sequence because we see the lone cowboy. He's running around the whorehouse. He fucks everybody.
Yeah.
He fucks everybody.
Right.
And he pays, and they love him, and there's all this whole, goodbye towards him leaving, the kisses and the cuddles, and they're hoping he comes back. And he heads across to get some supplies, and he confronts the kid on the bridge. And the kid is a punk.
Right.
He is a fucking punk. I would have just turned and walked and let him shoot me in the back, because that would have been illegal. But you just knew that this bounty hunter was wanting to
He wanted to fight, yeah.
He just wanted to fight. He just wanted to prove himself. And go for your gun. Let me see it. Let me see your gun. And as soon as that cowboy reaches for his gun, the bounty hunter's got a reason to fucking...
Yeah, just shoot him down. And he's just like, he was going for his gun. You all saw it.
You all saw it.
But yeah, he was played because he told him, he can't shoot for shit. The cowboy's like, yeah, I can't shoot anything. Yeah. So the guy's like, well, let me fix it for you. So get your gun. And yeah. And you just see his body just kind of, floating in the lake, in the frozen lake.
Yeah.
Just like, God
it's
damn.
fucking hot. Yeah, just...
It instantly vilifies these three.
I mean, they were
if they weren't already.
If they weren't already, but
yeah.
I already knew in that situation that he was the villain, and this cowboy who'd done nothing. The film had given us a red herring by saying, "Hey, look, he's turned up. He's not really. He's a nice guy. Just gets gunned down for no reason." But it punctuated for me this whole historical world that we're in. This whole Wild West world where people will just shoot each other for money and for a reason, but they will twist it for themselves. And so McCabe realizes he's got no choice but to fight these guys.
Yeah.
He's not going to survive. But it's not your traditional action dramatic, hero running around fucking beating the crap out of everybody.
No.
He's desperate.
Right.
He's running around the snow. The fucking snow sequence was amazing.
I think it's funny that, in films, you kind of hear that directors keep doing the next take and another take and another take. Perfectionists, they want to get it right.
Yeah.
There was a point in time where, where they'd filmed the sequence and it was Warren Beatty who was just like, no, actually, I want to do this take again, and again, and again. So much so that Robert Altman, the director, was just like, right, I'm leaving. First assistant director, Warren Beatty wants to keep doing this scene. Can you keep filming it for me?
He wants to get it perfect.
They filmed it like 30 more times.
Nice.
And so to get revenge on Warren Beatty, once all the snow had filled the whole set, and it was real snow, the director was like, do it again, Warren. Do it again, Warren. In the snow sequence, he made him go through that to do one shot in the snow 30 plus times to get revenge on him. It's like, that's cruel.
Yeah.
You hear those stories from sets and you wonder if they're real or not, but you can only imagine it because, he looked fucking cold.
Yeah, he looked cold. And this whole sequence just looked tough. He goes to hide in the church and the priest confronts him, takes his shotgun from him and, forces him out of the church. And McCabe, escapes, but then Butler kicks in the door and he blasts the priest. And oh my God, you watch that arm go.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I stopped it and just slowed it down. And I'm like, ooh, that's amazing,
Right. But it starts a fire in the church as well, which the townspeople would kind of come to realize later, and you see them all running to grab, buckets and hoses, and
everybody just rallies together to put out the church fire. And I'm just like, well, the priest is dead in there. Some of you must have heard the gunfire. Nobody's really coming out their way to help.
Well, the weather and the wind is really strong, so
yeah, but also to the fact that, like I said, with my feeling towards this whole historical element, none of them want to actually put their lives on the line to help McCabe. No. It actually works more in their favour if he dies, because then they might get some money out of it. They might, be able to get the business or whatever. McCabe heads his way to the bathhouse to hide out, and you got the kid who follows him in there, and they exchange fire, and McCabe is wounded, but he kills the kid.
Right.
And you're just like, okay, so that's one down. And then making his way through the town while the townspeople are distracted by the fire, he gets into a shop and shoots Breed in the back. And you're just like, okay, 2 down. But the wound to McCabe is like, that looks life-threatening.
Absolutely. He's been shot in the thigh, he's been shot in the gut.
Yeah,
he's
and
bleeding, yeah.
And the time era as well, they're not exactly going to just be able to sedate him and take it out, and he'll be fine after a couple of days, So it's just this final showdown with Butler, and this whole time I was like, "Where's Miss Miller? I haven't seen her. She hasn't come out.
She knew that these, I guess, bounty hunters were in the town. She kind of knew that McCabe's days were over as well.
But she just kind of weirdly just disappears at one point in the movie, and then you just follow McCabe like you had at the beginning, him just on his own in this town, and he's shot in the back by Butler, by that big fucking shotgun rifle thing.
Right. I mean, Butler kind of tricked him by putting his horse or something up in the distance so that McCabe would go after it, thinking it was him.
Well, I thought there was like a little hut that he was going to hide out in.
Maybe, yeah.
And just to get some cover. But he's tricked by Butler. I mean, Butler looks the more experienced huntsman.
Right.
But when he comes across, McCabe laying in the snow, McCabe just pulls out that little tiny derringer, which made me think that's how he got Bill Roundtree.
Right.
And just shoots him straight in the fucking head.
Yeah, I mean, he shoots him right between the eyes.
Right between the eyes.
So I'm like, well, he's a crack shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he kills Butler, and then you watch McCabe kind of stumble down through the snow, kind of makes his way back into the town before he just collapses,
he just
waist high,
in the snow, yeah,
and just dies in the snow.
I had to wiki the film again to go, don't tell me he fucking dies. Not after all of this, he dies. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, no, there he is. But I at the same time, I was like, where the fuck's Miss Miller? And then you follow that camera, POV shot all the way down into the Asian Quarter, and this door opens, and there she is, just lying there, just smoking on her pipe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of tragic for everyone.
Yeah.
It's like a real melancholy kind of ending. It's just like, wow, it's kind of depressing, but the whole film was kind of hopeful throughout.
At points, but then it pulled the rug out from underneath your feet and went, tricked you,
right.
Tricked you.
So, do you have memorable or favourite sequences from the film?
Yeah, I have a few. I mean, I loved all of the scenery. Like I said, maybe I'm just massively biased at the moment, but the weather really helped depict everything in such a light. But from the rain or the snow, the town just looked brilliant. There's this one shot of Miss Miller walking out, I think, from the bathhouse or from the whorehouse, and she just walks across those planks above the river.
Yeah.
And the snow's all settled down, and she just walks in. And the whole time I'm like, don't slip, don't slip, don't slip, don't slip. Because in reality, there would have been ice on there, and it'd been scary and stuff like that. But, that's how they had to live. That's just absolutely beautiful. I loved the guys talking about beard trimming. It starts off, you got to pay attention to these jokes, people. You got to pay attention. There's the guy, and he's just like, what do you think I should do with this? And the other actor, played by John Shook, playing Smalley, he's just like, well, do what I do. And then a couple of scenes later on, the bartender goes, "What do you think?" And you even notice he's got nicked himself on the neck. He goes, "What do you think?" And Smalley's just like, "What?" I'm like, just that was funny. That was funny to me. Miss Miller teaching McCabe the ins and out of true whoring.
Right.
Her list of stuff. Ever want to run a whorehouse? That is your checklist.
How do you know when a girl really has a monthly or when she's just taken a few days off? What about when they don't get their monthlies? Because they don't. What do you do then? I suppose you know all about seeing to that.
Simple as.
Simple as. And I also like the fact that later on when she comes in and she's going through the books. And she's just like, look, if you do this here and put this there, and 17 plus 30, and he's like, and she calls him out. She calls him out a couple of times on equations.
His maths is not very good.
Yeah, but he's like, look, put me in front of a table with some cards, and I'm like, you two need each other. You work well together.
Yeah.
The sequence with McCabe talking to Butler, them just. Warren Beatty's a brilliant fucking actor.
Hell yeah.
I kind of wanted to watch Dick Tracy after watching this. Just because it's been such a long time. But him just talking to Butler and then seeing the kind of experience behind Butler's eyes made me want to Wikipedia the actor, and then realizing what kind of life he's led, I was like, that's what you get from Butler. Yeah. He's led a life. He's killed many a man. And he doesn't care about you, McCabe. He works for the company, just like we all do. He's made his money, or he will make his money, on your ass. And the way McCabe just unloads everything, and Butler's just like...
And? So? Right.
See ya, Leading up to, obviously, to the action sequences. Obviously, the boy killing the cowboy. I fucking hated that, but it's just... so beautiful, like I said, the scenery, them on the bridge, standing across from each other.
There's a really good tension there. You're just like, is he going in? What's...
He was, and I was willing the cowboy to just turn around and walk away. Just go back to the whorehouse, just one more night. Let this all calm down. But no, it had to punctuate to you that this world was merciless.
Yeah.
It was kind of trying to tell you there that there wasn't going to be really a happy ending for anybody, even if McCabe lives. Mm-hmm. And yeah, like I said, the shootout sequences, McCabe getting the hang of everybody, shooting them, killing them, wounding, and then just dying in the snow. Just made me want to go to North Auberjonois.
Yeah, it's very memorable. I think you've listed almost all my favourite sequences as well. I love pretty much every scene with McCabe and Mrs. Miller together.
Yeah.
The chemistry between the two of them felt real. They felt like a real couple, and the fact that the two of them kind of don't really get together. I mean, there's that sequence where he breaks down in tears in front of her, and she kind of just calls him in and kind of takes him.
Yeah, but then she's gone.
But then she's on the opium, and he's dead, and it's kind of like, I mean, she's soul dead by the end of the film as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the sequences with the two of them were really memorable, really powerful actors. So many great moments in the film. The whole film is a favourite scene, which is why it should come as no surprise that I'm definitely recommending McCabe and Mrs. Miller. This is a must-watch for cinema fans and lovers of the Western genre. Robert Altman claimed that this is an anti-Western, and with its grungy, almost real depiction of frontier life, it looks very different from the standard Hollywood film westerns of the time. I believe that this is a near masterpiece. Its haunting depiction of capitalism set in a dreary and melancholy tone. It feels bleak, but, slightly hopeful, due to the captivating performances by the two leads, who are incredible at delivering characters that you come to love by the end of the story. It's a really moody film with lots of somber atmosphere.
Yeah.
And I loved it. It's a film that's going to stay with you, I think, long after it's over. I should also say that when this film came out, it didn't do very well. The first screening for critics, there was something wrong with the sound levels, so it sounded really distorted. It sounded like they were in a fishbowl. And so all the critics at the time kind of slated the film for being anti-Western and for having an awful soundtrack to the film.
Yeah.
The music in the film, I should say, was by Leonard Cohen, who put who let Robert Altman use 3 of the songs for the film, which kind of helps give the film that kind of
the only songs in the film as well. These 3.
But because of the poor sound level in the film, Robert Altman kind of left that screening. He kind of ran out of the place like, my career is over, went straight to the bar. And but it's only been, over the last decade or so that people have come back to this film and realised that it is, it's a cult film. It's a masterpiece.
Yeah, I like I said, I'm being absolutely massively biased by playing a Western at the moment, and I'm fucking eating up every single Western I'm getting. I don't give a shit. When we saw this one on the list and I wikied it, as soon as I read anti-Western, I'm like, I'm done. I'm on it. I'm all over this film. And hearing all the background stuff, the extra little details, the way it was filmed, the way the actors play. My only minor criticism with this film is the soundtrack, where the film starts with that song playing. It's an absolutely brilliant song, but there was moments in the film where they just kept repeating the song, or repeating moments of the other 2 songs that they have, which happen to sound just like the first song that you hear because it's the same fucking actor. And I'm just like, a little bit too much. But then when the film ended, I thought about other Westerns, and I'm like, hey, some of their music's played a little bit too much. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, bow, wow, wow, that goes on a little bit too much. But it accompanies the film, and this soundtrack does accompany the film. Every character is brilliant, every background story is brilliant, the backstabbery, the fucking era, I could gush over this movie loads, but I won't. I'll just watch it again while playing Red Dead Redemption.
Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
Traveling lady, stay a while until the night is over.
Sheehan, if Frog had wings, he wouldn't bump his ass so much. You follow me?